maybe we should chug on over to Mamby-Pamby land, where maybe we can find some self-confidence for you, you jackwagon!
Coming to you live from his padded cell high atop Bethel Church, the most heralded, the most despised talk show in all of human history. This is the talk show hell hates. This is Pastor Mike Online.
And here we are coming to you live from our top secret broadcasting bunker here at Area 52. This is Pastor Mike, and I am online and live with you today. Had a problem. Don't know what the problem was. The camera was plugged in, wouldn't work. So I unplugged it, plugged it back in, wouldn't work. So I unplugged it. Restarted Wirecast, fooled with the plug a little bit, plugged it in, turned it on, and it worked. I don't get it. Ladies, please don't take an offense to this. But computers are, there's no, it doesn't surprise me that Apple names its artificial intelligence interface Siri, and it's the voice of a woman. Same with Amazon. Alexa is a woman's name. And talks to you in a woman's voice. It doesn't surprise me. I'm not being demeaning to women at all, but I always like to have to tell the truth on this program and anything else that I say. And there is a song that fits women perfectly. La donna mobile, which means a woman is fickle. A woman is fickle. And so I have found that computers are fickle. You can unplug, plug, unplug, plug, unplug, plug, unplug, and then plug, and then it'll work. And you've done nothing different other than unplugged and plugged it in 6 times. There's nothing different about it. And so anyway, I love women. I chose to be born of a woman. I married a woman. My first 3 children turned out to be women. So I love them. I think that there is a great typology in the Word of God for women to unite with the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who the Bible describes as the bridegroom. Who does that make the bride? Well, that would be the woman. And last week I was going to do I still may do it today. It's either that or something else. From the book of Proverbs on either the strange woman or the shadow of death. And we'll see what comes up. Anyway, it's good to be with you today. We have I picked up a very, very how can I describe this newspaper? This newspaper is just I mean, it is spot on. You can always count on this newspaper to tell the absolute truth when it comes to anything that's going on in this world. And, I don't want to give the name of it out because, I mean, it just, I don't want to promote any one newspaper or magazine. But I can tell you that this magazine, this newspaper for sure, if it's true and it's newsworthy, by golly, they're going to print it up, okay? But again, I don't want to tell what newspaper it is, okay? But there is an article in here, War of the Worlds, and let me just say this in all seriousness. It's a shame. Up until the New York Times in 2017, when they broke their story and they did in-depth research, the New York Times was able to get quotes from people that nobody else would have gotten quotes from them. You remember the original, The Incredible Hulk TV series? You remember that series from the late 70s? I think it was early 80s, but late 70s for sure. And Bill Bixby was Dr. David Bruce Banner, and he kept assuming these different identities and jobs that would put him working in different labs because he was always trying to find a cure so that he wouldn't turn into the Hulk anymore and throw somebody's car in the middle of a lake. Well, he was always being followed by a guy who worked for a fictitious newspaper called the National Register. And anytime he would say, yeah, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a reporter for the National Register, people would be going, you work for them? Oh, yeah, I've read your stories. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff there. Yeah, Bat Boy. Yeah, I remember that. So anyway, but finally, 2017, New York Times, they're getting information from the Pentagon, released from the Pentagon. They're getting quotes from the Pentagon. They're getting quotes from Lou Elizondo. They're getting videos released. And understand, the first 3 videos that came out were not leaked videos. As far as the Tic Tac, the gimbal, and the Go Fast. Those were not secretly leaked out videos that, somebody's going to have to go to prison now because these videos were top secret. The Pentagon released these videos to the public, which in itself was startling and amazing because up till then, the Pentagon said, what's a UF what? And they acted like they didn't know what anybody was talking about. But they finally released these 3 videos and very little explanation, but at least gave where they were from, about what time they happened and so on. And so finally, the American public and the world gets an admission from the United States Pentagon, the Department of Defense, that UFOs are real. They're not made up. This is not somebody's pie plate they threw up in the air. This is not somebody throwing a Tic Tac across, a body of water and then use a little Photoshop and we can make it look like it's 30 feet. Nobody did that. So anyway, now we have this story. This kind of drew my attention here. This globe here is a few months old. It's got the Alex Murdaugh murder scene photos. Where was that? North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere over there. Very rich family, prominent family. The family that can do no wrong because they're good family. They have good genetic stock in them. And all of a sudden, the dad ends up killing his wife, lawyer's wife and son. Never stood a chance. I thought he killed about 3 people. And he's in prison now the rest of his life, thank God. Then there is in here an article about Queen Camilla, who is a lush. She drinks heavily. And listen, I suppose that if you were in that family, the royal family, you would drink like a fish. You would drink. So in the midst of all of this, Camilla drinking again after a fight with King Charles. You can't fight with King Charles. King Charles can say, "Off with her head." Can they do that still? I don't think so. So anyway, you have this article, Special Report, War of the Worlds. U.S. fighters take out 3 UFOs, and military hints craft came from outer space. An alarming swarm of UFO sightings and armed clashes in the skies above North America and Asia have military leaders across the globe sounding the alarm and scrambling air defenses as top Pentagon brass admits space aliens could be behind the mysterious craft. Wouldn't it be easier if the space aliens were inside the mysterious craft rather than being behind it? Just observation. Air Force General Glenn Van Herk, head of North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, and the U.S. Northern Command shockingly confesses 3 odd metallic objects shot down over Alaska, Canada, and the Great Lakes may be of extraterrestrial origin. I haven't ruled out anything, declares the general. At this point, we continue to assess every threat or potential threat unknown that approaches North America with an attempt to identify it. Van Herk claims the mystery objects fired on by American F-16 fighter jets were very, very small, like this big, and traveled at slow speeds, adding, "We're calling them objects, not balloons, for a reason, because experts don't know what they are." Florida Senator Marco Rubio claims UFOs have been operating over restricted U.S. airspace for years, but the White House has gone silent. Can you imagine that? Joe Biden not having the ability to say anything for hours on end? Yeah. Mr. President. Trump. It's Trump's fault. Yeah. Well, you want to go outside, buddy? You want to go outside? That's our president. Marco Rubio claims UFOs have been operating over restricted U.S. airspace for years. White House has gone silent on the origin of the flying discs, which seemed to be made of an advanced metal fabric first seen at the 1947 Roswell UFO crash. I thought that was a balloon. I thought the government had pictures of guys holding up weather balloon material. I thought that's what Roswell was. That doesn't make sense. An intelligence expert suggests President Joe Biden and other U.S. leaders are downplaying the incidents over Lake Huron, Canada's Yukon, and northern Alaska, where the downed UFOs were jamming military defenses to avoid spreading panic. But the danger is real, and a worldwide warning is being signaled by the superpowers, who seem convinced there is a threat. British physicist Brian Cox claims the sudden invasion of objects exactly fits his scenario for space aliens coming to Earth. I've always suspected an advanced alien civilization with the technology to travel at close light speed across interstellar distances would arrive in Earth orbit unobserved and proceed to dispatch a fleet of small, easily detectable balloons into our atmosphere, he says. The alarming sightings followed the president's order to shoot down a gigantic Chinese spy balloon that had floated from Alaska across the U.S. to off the South Carolina coast. In other words, we let it fly from Alaska all the way across our most sensitive sites that we have, and let it get all the pictures that it needed to take. Biden makes a phone call to Jing in China, and he says, "Hey, Jing Zhao, can we get rid of this thing?" Yeah. So they shoot it down and say, boy, our flying boys, our American military boys, boy, they're right on top of it, man. Whew. If they hadn't got to it when they did, it could have been much worse. Good grief. Yeah, was that really a balloon? Was that really a balloon? Who knows? Everyone admitted the balloon was made in China. It wouldn't matter if it was the most top secret weapon that the United States had. There would be a stamp on the bottom of it saying, made in China. Everyone admitted the balloon was made in China, but a week later, on February 10th, a mysterious cylindrical object linked to no nation was shot down over the Arctic Ocean near Dead Horse, Alaska. The next day, February 11th, an object the size of a small car was downed by U.S. jets near the Alaskan-Canadian border. Elon Musk said, "You shot my car! You idiots! You shot down my car!" A Pentagon bigwig described the bizarre object as a cylindrical and silverish gray, adding it floated balloon-like without any sort of propulsion. The pilots who shot after it say the object was cruising at 40,000 feet with no sign of an engine or power source, yet it mysteriously interfered with the sensors on their high-tech fighter jets. The following day, a weird-shaped 8-sided object with strings hanging off was blown out of the sky by an AIM-9X missile fired by an F-16 fighter jet as it hovered 20,000 feet over Lake Huron. Meanwhile, China, which sent the monster spy balloon into U.S. airspace, suddenly scrambled its jets to face a feared attack by the alarming appearance of mysterious objects cruising over its territory. One, resembling the February 11th car-sized silver cylinder, floated over the major eastern port of Jimo, driving military officials to order jets to shoot it down and warn local fishermen to look out for dangerous debris falling from the skies. UFO expert Nick Pope, formerly with Britain's Ministry of Defense, says the objects appeared similarly to the famed Tic Tac spacecraft sighting in 2004, as Globe. Now, where was I getting with that? Yeah, as Globe previously reported, U.S. Navy pilots on training flights off the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz along the Southern California coast spied a UFO-shaped tic-tac breath mint making... He wrote that in there. They wrote in here, as Globe previously reported, U.S. Navy pilots on training flights off the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz along the Southern California coast spied a UFO shaped like a tic-tac breath mint, making physically impossible starts, stops, and turns over the sea. I think AI wrote this. I think AI, who has never enjoyed the flavor of a minty Tic Tac, I think they wrote this. Even 19 years later, the world's top scientists and military experts don't know what it was. I don't have an explanation for the Tic Tac incident, and to the best of my knowledge, the DoD and the U.S. Navy are still categorizing it as unidentified, Pope adds. And that's thus saith the Pope. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Your bedtime can increase stroke risks. That's one reason why you should never read this garbage. Reese Witherspoon backs off booze to stay young. That's one reason why you should read this garbage. A love blessed by the angels. If you order this carved image of an angel, you'll get blessed in your house. Brady going Hollywood. Now he's going to be an actor. Let's see here. Chief Ryan eaten alive by food. Chef. Amateur chef Ryan Seacrest's obsession with food is turning him into a glutton at home. Oh no, that must be terrible. Let's see here. What else is in here? Oh boy. Gal, 52, spends $200,000 for intravenous fertilization baby. It only took 6 years for her dream to come true. I'm looking at the picture of her. It would have only taken 5 years to find somebody that would marry this ugly gal. So I don't know why she decided to go IVF. Jessica Hubby Spikes, reality TV comeback. Jessica Simpson. I don't know who these people are. If you watch reality TV shows, you don't live in reality. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that right now. All right, I'm done with this. Let's see here. Let's do this. I'm just kind of rolling the dice in my head. What I was going to study today, and I think the dice is loaded. I think it's messed up for some reason. I was going to study a couple of things, and let's see. I don't need it all caps. How in the world did that happen? There we go. We'll go to Book of Proverbs. When I read last year, if you remember, I read a book that really got my attention. It had just come out last year, and the title of it was UFO of God. UFO of God. Now, it had, I was trying to straighten my office up yesterday, and I don't know if I have the book. I don't see it. I was trying to straighten my office up yesterday, or this area here, and there's a book that I bought. It has all of the artwork that we know about, that Leonardo DaVinci made, whether it was a painting or whether it was a sculptor, whether it was a fresco, something that he did on the walls of some church somewhere. You know, that painting of the Last Supper is not on a canvas somewhere where it can be easily stolen or easily sold or whatever. It's actually above the exit. I don't know what building it's in, but it's on the wall, so you just can't you can't steal the artwork. You can't do that. But I've mentioned this before, that Da Vinci's artwork, in some cases, carried with it esoteric and occult teachings. It is reported, and the report now seems to be not reliable. However, the names mentioned on this list are all very important names when it comes to the passing down of a secret doctrine. Some took the secret doctrine that they had and they hid it in literature because they were authors, they were wordsmiths. They had the ability to write things and leave the reader wondering, I wonder what he means by that. Whereas Da Vinci and a few others who were in the list, called the Priori of Zion, which does seem to be a fake organization or an organization whose members have been added posthumously. That means that they were added after they posthumed themselves. It means they were added after they died. And you have Da Vinci's name on there. You have Michelangelo's name on there, I believe. I'm not positive. You have Jean Cocteau, who was a French film director, and there does seem to be a couple of things in some of his work that teaches you a portion of the secret doctrine. The only film that I ever saw in my life that was made and directed by Jean Cocteau was a film that came out. It came out, I think, in the late 50s. And on St. Louis public television during the summer. I don't know why they did this. I guess they thought that this would capture the minds of young people as they sat around watching TV all week long during the summer vacation. Well, I watched it, and I talked my sister into watching it, and she kind of liked it. And it was a version of Beauty and the Beast. And of course, it was done in French, and it had subtitles on it. And it was an interesting story. The idea of a woman being in love with a beast is in itself a very interesting biblical concept. A woman and a beast together. Now, that concept not only is not as far-fetched as you think, but it's actually so real that God had to write a law that said, 9999999. No slopping ze with the beast. In other words, don't lie carnally with a beast as you would with a man. Now, that I think that's in the King James. I think that law God put in there 4 or 5 times. Now, you don't have to tell me twice or 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. You don't have to tell me that many times not to do that. I get it the first time around. I get it. But apparently that law is significant. And so the theme of the story of Beauty and the Beast seems to be a significant story, because that was one of the famous works that Jean Cocteau made during his lifetime. Now, all of these women, they represent something that's in your King James Bible, and it's referred to. I refer to it as the strange woman doctrine, or the strange woman teaching, or the strange woman whatever. Okay. Proverbs warns you about her. Says, stay away from her. She's bad. And so, let me look here. Let me go back a little bit. I ought to do Psalm here too. God says in Psalm 114:1, when Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob, from a people of strange language. Now, let me give you the Bible's understanding. It figures I don't have I'm going to mute just for... just to be couth, I'm going to mute my microphone for a minute. Oh, I love allergies. Anyway, a strange language. The word strange literally means not from around here. So let's say that you lived 150 years ago. Let's see, what would that be? It would be 1924, around 1870, something like that, okay? And a man and his family moved in to your community and built a farm there next to your land, and you don't like them because they talk weird. And I don't know, I just don't like anybody that talks weird. Why don't they, if they're going to come to this country, why don't they learn American? And you know, we're still like that today. We have people like that today. We don't like to hear when we see a group of Hispanic people in a store and they're speaking Spanish. Immediately, we want to say, why don't you speak English so we can all understand what you're saying? Maybe they don't want you to understand what they're saying. And maybe because it's their native language, maybe they feel more comfortable speaking it and understanding it than they do English. There's all kinds of reasons why. I mean, when I go to Kenya and I see a Mzungu and I hear him speaking English, I'm drawn to this guy. I want to know, hey, where you from? Okay? I want to know where he's from. I want to know, are you here on business? Are you on vacation? Are you doing mission work? Or what are you here for? What part of America are you from? We're from Liverpool, England. I'm in England, yeah. Okay? But anyway, a strange language spoken by people who are a strange people. And they speak a strange language that you do not understand, and therefore you don't trust it. Now, it's natural, but it's bigoted. It is. Let's just get honest with it. It's bigoted. Unless you know for sure that these people are not going to blow up, the city hall or whatever as an act of terrorism on American soil, maybe you ought to give them a chance a little bit and not be so bigoted. But anyway, when Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob, from a people of a strange language. Now, all of this fits together. Strange language is spoken by people who are not from here. If they're from here, they will speak our language with great ease. And they will use our, what's the word I'm trying to think of? They will use our forms of speech that we use. They'll use our verbal contractions. They won't say cannot. They'll say can't. Okay? They will talk as much like us, saying words the way we say them as best as possible. Okay? But if they don't do that, don't just automatically assume, I bet they're terrorists. I bet they are. I bet I could get me an award for turning them in as terrorists. Okay? Don't do that. That's just being plain bigoted is what it is. All right. Psalm 137:4. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? That means you are in a place that you don't belong in. Okay? I'm easily identifiable in Africa, in Kenya. The children, when they see me, they say, "Oh, hello, Mzungu. How are you?" And I love that. Michael told me that's what all the little kids will say. "Hi, Mzungu. Where are you?" Mzungu, to a little child, is sort of like meeting Santa Claus. Okay? They think that they really met somebody. And, I just think that's neat. And so I always wave at them and, things like that. I just love that. I'd rather be recognized and loved by the children anyway. Is what I'd rather be. But anyway, Psalm 144:7. Send thine hand from above, rid me, and deliver me out of the great waters, from the hand of strange children. I want you to think about something for a minute. And if I'm wrong, then ask God, God, would you beat Mike Hoggard nearly to death and then correct him? I'm dead serious. I don't want to mislead anybody. Send thine hand from above, rid me and deliver me out of great waters, from the hand of strange children. Strange children don't belong here, but they have me captive. Strange, what happened? There we go. Strange children are children that don't belong there. They were not born there. They did not grow up there. They do not have an inheritance there. Their Uncle Mork from Ork doesn't have land there that he's going to give over to you. And so they really have no reason for being there. But they've got you. Send thine hand from above, rid me and deliver me out of the great waters from the hand of strange children. So you have been taken by a people who are strange children. They are not from here. And when I say they're not from here, I don't mean they're not from Festus. And I don't mean they're not from Jefferson County. And I don't mean that they're not from Missouri. And I don't mean that they're not from the United States. I don't mean that they're not from this country. I believe that it's possible that they are from someplace else. Let's see here. Yeah, here it is again. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. Think about that for a minute. We know that in God's right hand is a book. And in that book, it's been sealed all of these years. And in that book, there are great and precious promises. There is the blessing of Almighty God. There is the salvation of God in the right hand. There's everything that can ever be known about God in this book. Everything that can be known about God is in this book. Okay? Now, they have a different book. It looks like the book that God has in his right hand. It has words in it, and the words that are spoken out of that book are vanity. It has words in it that pretend to be the truth, but they are because they are the strange root and come from strange children. They are their falsehood, and their words are from, let's see here, rid me and deliver me from the hand of the strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. So the words that they have in their right hand are words of a falsehood. I've read several different versions of this story. How that the so-called aliens, as Charlie Duke says, demons. Thank you, Brother Charlie. I appreciate that. But the way he put it, I like it. And by the way, I made that video, let's see, Friday afternoon. It took forever to upload from my house because we have slow cellular internet. And once it got to YouTube, it took off, boom, immediately. And I'm just curious as to how many, let's see, where are you? Here you are. How many views that thing has gotten already. Let me refresh it. It was at, 6.6. Yes, 6.6 thousand views in 2 days. All to the glory of God. I mean, there's videos on here that I've had on there for years that have gotten maybe a couple thousand views. I don't know, but for some reason that really took off, and I'm thankful for that, because I think it's got the truth in it. I do. I think Charlie Duke is right, and I appreciate him and his testimony and his love for the Lord, I just, if I could, I would try to get him here to do an interview, maybe speak to our church. If I thought I could get him here, I would try to do that. Anyway, deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is the right hand of falsehood. So they've got something. And what I was getting at a while ago was, with all of these UFO sightings and abductions and everything like that, there is a common element in some of these stories, and that is that there seems to be a book that these strange demonic aliens have. And when I say alien, I'm saying strangers, because the meaning is exactly the same. They are not from here. They don't belong here. They are strange to us. They're strange to our ways. They're strange to how we live, how we believe, and so on and so on. So if you hear me say the word alien, you're going, oh, you're going to talk about little green men again. No, I'm saying the exact same thing, and you can see this in the Bible if you will look. You just look up the word alien in the King James Bible and see how right I am on using that word. Where was I going with that? But alien, strange. I can't think of it now. Oh, this book, Betty Andresson saw it. It was a book of human history, and every time she turned a page, there would be this three-dimensional hologram portrayal of what was going on in history. And she turned to the page of Jesus' crucifixion. And I'll have to go back and look at my notes again as to see how close it was to the gospel story. But they had the crucifixion of Christ in there. And if I remember right, the aliens that abducted Betty Andresson basically said that Jesus was one of them. That's a lie. I mean, the 3D hologram looks cool, but it can lie. Just like everything else about Hollyweird, it can be a lie. All right. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Here we go now. The strange woman. That's really what I wanted to get into. And let me start out by explaining it this way. When now I forgot his name. Chris Bledsoe. Yeah, Chris Bledsoe, I think. When he kept seeing all these flying saucers, these big shining orbs flying around him, flying around his house, flying through his up and down his fields, and so on and so on. He had to go, shoo them out of the way. Him and his son had an experience that to this day, I don't think he's ever told what happened to him on that ship, that mothership. I don't think he's ever told what was on there and what happened. But they obviously performed some tests and did all kinds of things and gave him superpowers. Now he can foretell the future. Now he can give healing to people. Blah, blah, blah. And he has a situation where a bull, giant bull is running toward him as fast as it can. And Bledsoe jumps out of the way in the nick of time, only to see that there is a woman standing there. And this woman, long flowing robe, gown down to her ankles. She sort of has her arms extended like this. She glows like a bluish hue. And she begins to speak, but not with her mouth. She begins to speak with her brain to Bledsoe's brain. And she says to him, everything that's happened to you, Chris, has been a result of what I ordered to happen to you. In other words, I sent the orbs. I'm the one that approved the your visit to our mothership where we did these things to you, so on and so on. And she said, we think that you're going to be the one who's going to tell the world that we're coming. You're going to be the one, Chris, who's going to change people's minds. And just weird stuff like that. Like Chris was the anointed one. Chris Bledsoe. He's the anointed one of God. He is God's chosen vessel. And he's going to have gifts of healing. He's going to have gifts of tongues. He's going to have all these gifts that he can do to show that he's the real deal. And people, that is a setup. It's a setup. Don't believe it. Do not fall for those lying signs and wonders. You say, but Pastor Mike, I've had this horrible pain in my back. And Bledsoe laid his hands on my back, and I've never felt so good in my life as I feel now. I can't just say thank you, whoever you are. I got to tell somebody who it is. That's a setup. God said, do not name the name of other gods. Don't call out their name. Don't praise them. And so Bledsoe's been given these gifts, these signs, these wonders, and he goes around doing these things, these signs, these wonders, these prophecies. He has a gift of prophecy where he prophesies what's going to happen. Lo and behold, it happens just like he said. People just don't fall for that. Then, of course, on the next day, the woman promises him that she's going to allow him to photograph the orbs more often. And as proof that they are there and they are real. Now, at what point did all of that, with the speaking in tongues and with the healing and, with hearing from these entities and being able to speak to these entities and so on, at what point did that go from being, oh, honey, look up in the sky. There was a UFO, and now it just kind of split in half. Now there's two of them. Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. Look at honey up there. Look at that. Look at that one. Oh my, look at it. Look at what it's doing. It's splitting in half again. And oh, look at this one. It's splitting in half too. And then they all ascend up into the north. What happened to the UFOs that people used to just look at and go, ooh, ah, ee, ah, ooh, ah, to the experiences that people are having, to where they're being lied to by esoteric spirits. They're being lied to about that. And, if this was really something from God, I guess I would offer them the teaching and the knowledge of salvation. But that's not what they're asking for. It is an antichrist. The movement of the UFOs is an antichrist religion. And I say I want nothing to do with it. I mean, I have something with which to do with it. It's something I believe God told me to study out, and I'm trying to do that best as I can. But it's just driving me nuts sometimes when I hear and see these things come to pass. I wonder how much longer God is going to allow these things, these entities, to carry on what they're doing, and then send that strong delusion where everybody believes the lie. Okay?
That's what I'm worried about more than anything. It's people believing the lie. All right, it's good to be with you today. Keep me in your prayers. My sinuses are swollen, and I can't breathe. And please pray for my wife. She found out she's going to have her arm operated on. There's a broken shoulder bone, and there is a biceps tear, and her dog, had been taking it to the vet, and the dog has a sickness from which there is no cure. And so they put the dog down today. So I'm going to ask a favor. If you would send my wife a nice little card. And you can call her Lisa, you can call her Sweetie Pie, Mrs. Hoggard, Sister Hoggard, whatever you want to call her. And just let her know that you love her and you're praying for her and you thank God for her. I'm telling you, she is the reason I'm here. The reason. And so she's going through a tough time right now. So please pray for her and lift her up if you could. All right? You are the reason why we do what we do. And we thank God for those things. Lord bless you and keep you. We will see you tomorrow night. Wednesday night Bible study. Woo! Looking forward to it. Think Bible.